I want to know who these people are that figure out all of these loopholes for the companies and for all of these wealthy people. I want their tax consultant.
Right. Well, it's funny that you say that because my daughter the other day, she was talking about how she really wanted this thing she saw from Sephora or Ulta or something like that. It was like a skincare thing or a makeup thing. And she was like, I really want it. I was like, have you had it before? She was like, well, no. She's like, but all my friends have it and they really like it. I was like, and how did your friends figure out that they wanted that? She was like, well, they saw it on TikTok or they saw it on YouTube. Because I mean, YouTube basically just airs TikTok videos. I'm like, so they were marketed to. And she cut me off and she was like, not everything is about money. And I was like, yes, yes, it is.
It is.
Yes, yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
If there is not money behind something, it does not happen. You can have the best intentions in the world, but because of the way that our world functions, you need money to survive and you need money to reach people. So if you don't have money to survive and you don't have money to reach people, you have zero impact on the world, period. Aside from like interpersonal interactions that you have with other people. But if you're trying to reach a wide,
You have to have a really good personality for that because if you don't, you're not going to get people's attention without the money.
oh, absolutely. So money makes everything easier, and money is what makes things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So just like what you're saying, it'd be great to have their tax consultants that the billionaire class has to help us out. That would be amazing. But we can't afford that
Nope.
because the billionaire class says, oh, I owe $500 million in taxes this year. How can I avoid this? So they hire somebody for $200,000 a year and they are saving 499.9 or $0.8 million. Like,
I knew a guy, my friend's father is a billionaire,
mm-hmm,
and he owed millions of dollars in taxes.
mm-hmm.
So he donated his original Winston Churchill signed books to this prestigious university for millions of dollars, and those were his taxes. And that was it. None of that went to the billions and billions of dollars didn't go to.
It didn't go to helping the country. It didn't go to helping any kind of charity. It literally just went to a private school.
Right.
Yeah. And it's not like it's accessible to the public.
Right.
It's like, oh, so this really rich person gave something to a really rich organization, and somehow that made it so that they didn't have to help out society. Why?
And that's the thing. Like people will say, we'll tax the rich. Well, they're rich for a reason. They know how to get around it.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, ended up defaulting to another country so that he didn't have to pay those taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I feel like is happening. If you charge somebody so much money and you keep trying to get it out of them, they have the money to leave.
Yeah, but they're never going to. That has been tested time and time again, and they don't leave the country.
Well, I can only say through the examples that I've seen in specific, like this industry,
Mm-hmm.
we sat there and watched how many studios pick up and peace out following tax incentives.
Yes, but the studios are picking up and piecing out, not the people that own the studios. And I think that's a very important distinction.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that to happen here because New Mexico is desperately trying to bring the film industry here.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been helping, and I'm like, so what can you offer us in incentives that will keep this here? Because I've teamed up with an artists association. Right now I'm convincing them the exact same thing that you had to convince your daughter. Look, you're going to have to spend money if you want money. And 50% of that has to go on marketing. I mean, that's the bottom line. You need to market and you need to spend money on that.
There have been multiple places I've worked at before that have picked up and moved out of the country. And every single time The executives, the top level leadership have stayed in the country. They have been a satellite location and they have shipped all of the workers to a different country. Sometimes they provide assistance to move to a different country, but they do say if you do not pick up and move to a different country, you are fired.
Well, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that, yes, they own the company, but it's a company. They're protected. They can sit there and say, well, I only earn this income a year, so I'm middle class, even though they own a company.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem too, is company valuations are so abstract.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have the stock market, which says Amazon is worth this much. It's like, but who are you going to sell it to? Who has the money to buy it? And also, okay, let's say everybody has the money to buy it. Are they actually going to buy it if you choose to sell it? Because a top level executive choosing to sell Amazon is going to tank the value of Amazon because everybody's going to say, well, why is the top level executive leaving? So they may seem to have all of this money, but they don't actually because it's liquid assets. It's not actual funds.
Yeah.
No, it's not liquid assets. It's not assets that you can actually like take.
The liquid assets are physical,
Right.
right?
Yeah. So, and that's the vast majority of the wealth that the ultra wealthy have is in assets. It's not in money. And their assets, by and large, like you were saying with your billionaire friend's uncle, his Winston Churchill signed whatever it was is valued at a certain amount based on what the millionaire and billionaire class have deemed it to be worth.
Exactly.
Because the common people, they're like, if we can't afford to eat, we're getting rid of that nonsense because we need to be able to pay to eat. We need to be able to pay for a house. So if we need to sell it, we're going to sell it. And if you don't have somebody there to tell you, oh no, this is really important, it's worth a whole lot of money, then you're not going to sell it for that much because it's not going to click. This is worth a whole lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was helping out with my sister-in-law. She was effectively doing an estate sale and she was trying to figure out how much to price certain things at. And so like I would reverse Google image search using the camera on my phone to figure out how much those objects were going on eBay for.
Yeah.
And that at least got me in the right ballpark because I don't know how much this woven tapestry painting would go for. I look it up on Google through eBay and it's like 450 bucks. I was like, all right, there you go. There's how much it's worth. Would I take it home? No, I would never hang that up in my house. To me, it's not even worth 20 bucks.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pay a penny on it. And that's the thing. Who will actually buy these things and are these valuations even remotely accurate? And that's where the vast majority of tax dodging happens is with fine art and with antiques and things like that, because there are even artists that they don't have any kind of a following, but you have a billionaire go to this artist and say like, hey, I'll buy your stuff for a lot of money, which to the artist is like $20,000-$30,000 a painting. And they're just splattering paint on a canvas and that's it. And then because a billionaire is buying this art, the value of that art goes up because everybody else wants what the billionaire has. So now that billionaire's art, which was $20,000, is now worth $100,000. And then they donate it to a quote unquote charity. So now they just spent $20,000 to get a $100,000 tax rebate. It's insane how easy it is to launder money like that.
I want that. Can I just say that? Can I openly say I want to launder money like that? I want that.
Do it.
I don't.
Just do it.
I don't. I want to help society. I would be
If one of my paintings sold for $100,000, I mean, you guys would lose me because I'd be off to Tuscany.
right. But that's what I'm saying. Like it's like people act like they don't trust the ultra wealthy. But when it comes down to it, people trust the ultra wealthy because they know that it doesn't take much to have a massive impact on your life. And they know that there is infrastructure that keeps these people in place. All of these people, these tens of thousands of people, work for Walmart, not making all that much money. even though they could very easily work for themselves and make a lot more money because there's job security there. They trust that Walmart isn't going to suddenly shut its doors. They trust that Walmart's going to handle their taxes properly. They trust that Walmart is going to give them the raises that they need. They trust that Walmart is going to continue to be around for a while. So maybe they can get a retirement or 401k or something like that. They trust that Walmart will take care of their health insurance needs. And they trust that they'll continue to have a job there. So they're willing to put in crazy amounts of hours or whatever hours Walmart will give them, depending on the situation, to continue making money for Walmart. Because one of the basics of business is that if you have an employee that is not making you more than you pay them, then they are not a good employee because they're not worth having around. Like, if this person only makes my company $10 and I'm paying them $15, then why am I having them around? I could just do their job for them and then not really have to pay myself. And my company could then make that $10 without having to pay more.
One thing that my husband and I had always been advocates of, because, we do as much as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
We do help with our donations, and we have a rental property. And because we have such good tenants, we haven't raised the rent on them for 2 years, and we don't plan on it. They're amazing tenants. And unless property tax or whatever raises on us, we take care of them. They take care of us. They take care of the house, and we don't have to worry about them putting giant holes in the house.
Mm-hmm.
That's really where my husband and I like to give back, with that kind of integrity. We are not slumlords. They call us with something that's broken down, and we are out there within the day with a licensed individual who will fix it.
Yeah.
Now, if ever I had a painting that sold for $100,000, I would turn right around and dip that into real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is the beginning of true help. Give somebody security. Give people something that they can trust when they come home. Everyone, they feel so wronged, and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's sole purpose feels like, well, let's see how much money we can get out of this person. Let's see how much we can screw them over to benefit ourselves.
Oh, 100%.
That's not cool.
It's funny that you bring up housing, because this is something that I was actually screaming. I was so livid at an article that I read earlier today. It was an article from the New York Times, and occasionally they have really good reporting. In this case, I wish I could find the person that wrote that article and find every single person that greenlit that article and fire them immediately, because they belong nowhere near journalism for the rest of their lives. The article effectively said that the reason why housing costs are so high is because we have a housing shortage in this country.
No, we don't.
Exactly. New York Times themselves, less than 2 weeks ago, came out with an article saying that our population is actually decreasing over time. We are not even replacing ourselves at this point. And without immigration, we are going to plummet our population relatively quickly, because millennials and Gen Z are not having kids nearly at the rate that boomers were. And boomers are dying off, and they were the biggest generation to begin with.
Yeah.
So this is a compounded situation where, like, the reason why our GDP keeps going up is because there's more and more people added to our country for the most part. But with our GDP going up, it's not going to keep going up because we're not going to have more and more people to enter the workforce. So if we don't have more and more people entering the workforce, is there something that suddenly caused hundreds of thousands of homes to just drop into the ocean? Because if not, we do not have a housing shortage. Even if they stopped building new houses right now, we would have enough houses to house everyone. Because right now, we have enough houses to house everyone, and our population is not exploding forward. We have enough houses. There's zero question about that.
The thing is that they're building all of these fancy houses to have these fancy pants people live in them, but they're not building houses that are, I don't want to say, they're not building convenient houses, normal houses. Not everyone wants to live in a mansion.
Well, I would almost say it's twofold, threefold, really, because you have three different types of houses that are being built, right? And I say this somewhat allegorically. I haven't done extensive amounts of research on it, but I have been in the North Georgia area for a while, seeing these places being built, living in one of them right now. And I have been back to Myrtle Beach just recently, where they have built 5 new entire neighborhoods over the past 2 years, just in Myrtle Beach, on top of at least 7 different massive apartment complexes. And Myrtle Beach is not a high population area. So the amount of just pure people flooding that area to fill those homes is insane right now. So there's 3 different types of properties that are being built. Number 1 is the mansions. It's the way over the top 1.1 million and above houses that are meant for the ultra wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much the only reason they're being built, is so that the ultra wealthy can move from wherever they live to a new place that they want to live without having to move into a house that's 20 years old, 30 years old.
Yeah.
The other houses that are being built are what I like to call the cookie cutters. My little sister just moved into one this past year. My older sister just moved into one this past year.
And they're right on top of each other.
Oh yeah, you can high five each other out your windows.
Yeah.
Your side yard is an alleyway, it's not a yard.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the indicative aspects of a cookie cutter house is almost no yard.
Mm-hmm.
Because developers are just buying 40 acres that was once forest or once farmland and are just what's called scorched earth development, where they just destroy everything that's in that square footage and they flatten it as much as they can, and they kill all the grass, they kill all the trees, and they just rebuild from scratch. Then when they go in and they build the roads, they do everything else, they do it as cheaply as possible. We're talking like whatever the requirements are for safety, they are reduced by about 20% minimum. So, for instance, when my older sister bought her brand new house, it hadn't even finished being built when she had already signed the paperwork.
Okay.
With the understanding that it would complete construction and that it had to be up to par for the specs that they had given.
Yeah.
But I was looking, there are wood studs that are supposed to be 2x4s and 2x6s that were plywood nailed together.
Oh, no.
These are crucial structural elements to the second floor of the home. There were massive, massive shortcuts like this all over the place. And these are happening in all these cookie cutter homes. Every single one of them are having these massive shortcuts taken. So for anybody who's buying a home that was built after about 2012, don't, unless you know what's going on inside the walls, because your home can just fall down like a stack of cards. Inspectors, generally speaking, are not even getting a chance to fully inspect the home before they put up the drywall, because as soon as that structure is up, they put up the drywall as quick as possible to hide the fact that they are taking so many shortcuts.
Mm-hmm.
And then also you have homes like the one that I'm in right now that I've been fighting to get out of, but I have to wait for my lease to be up, where the septic is so bad. The septic tank has had to be pumped 4 times in the past year, and it still is overflowing every time it rains, and sometimes just by us taking showers.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I've been fighting with the property management company for the past year and a half to get it fixed. The last time I called them, they said, well, the plumbing company we last sent out there said they fixed it, so we're going to assume it's fixed. I said, it's not fixed. I have video of it. I have photos of it. And when they said they came out here last, they didn't. They straight up didn't come out here. I don't know why you think they did. I don't know why you're paying them, because the amount that you're paying for these vendors is directly affecting my rent, because I know you guys aren't taking a hit because you have to keep calling these vendors out. It's us that are taking the hit for the expense that you are willing to pay now. Like,
that's the difference between good landlords and bad landlords.
mm-hmm.
We require that before they turn their heater on, we get someone out there to inspect it for their safety.
Mm-hmm.
We also go out there every year and check the smoke detectors. All the stuff that you do because you're a decent human being.
Right.
We had an appointment for them to have an inspector come and check out the heater. They never came. Called them again.
Mm-hmm.
The renters even said, I think we were supposed to have an appointment for today. They haven't really come by. Did they reschedule? What's going on? Oh my God. We tried to reschedule another one. They never came again. So finally, my husband was like, you know what? I work for the gas company. I'm going to have an inspector from the gas company come down. And that's exactly what we had to do finally, because the company that we kept trying to get them to go out just blatantly ignored that they existed
Mm-hmm.
and kept trying to charge us. But here's the thing. If you're a responsible homeowner,
Mm-hmm.
any overage from the rent that we get from our tenants go right into a bank account for the purpose, the sole purpose, if anything breaks down in that house.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't go into our pocket.
Right.
We haven't taken any payment from it.
That's the issue, is it's not renters that are handling these properties. Well, I'll get into that in a little bit because I have a whole thing about property management companies. Yeah, so real quick, the third tier of houses that are being built are the apartments. Massive amounts of apartments, and generally they're like the quote unquote pseudo luxury apartments where they charge 2,000 a month for a one bedroom, potentially even a studio, and they're not any different than like a crappy little apartment that was built back in the 70s. Aside from that, they're stacked 3, 4, 5 stories tall.
Yeah.
The quality isn't any better. There's literally nothing that's better about them aside from they kind of look a little bit better on the outside, and they might have a gate that runs around them so that
That's all cosmetic.
oh yeah, it's all cosmetic, every single bit of it. But people buy into it. So they end up paying these ridiculous rates for these apartments. But that's effectively what's happening is there's those three types of dwellings that are being built. And when you think about it, okay, so who does this help? Because it's not helping the people that need new homes because their houses are made like crap. They still are charging them $300,000, $400,000 for a 2 bedroom house. And this is not in an urban area. This is in a suburban to rural area. And that's for the cookie cutters. They have no yard. They have no ability to plant pretty much anything. They're in homeowners associations that don't even allow them to paint their house what color they want to paint it, don't allow them to change their shutters how they want to change them. Is there any world in which this helps anyone? There is so much profit that is coming off of the construction of these new developments that is insane and does nothing but destroy the fabric of our society. It makes people feel like they're paying everything they have for something that's crap that they don't want anyway, that might look nice, but that's about as far as it goes. There's a reason why people are starting to look for older construction, because new construction is all made like garbage. Like it is miserably poorly made.
In fact, my husband and I, we found this house in New Mexico that was built by a hippie. A hippie built this house. He painted the ceilings and everything. He's got a far out painting in our hallway where he did the moon and the stars and the galaxy. It's far out, but the bones of the house are strong.
Oh, that's cool.
The setup of the house is strong. And that's what we're always after. The new houses that have been built past 2002, the electrical is so flimsy. It's just, oh. And the one good thing about some of these newer houses is it has a lot of the copper piping already in it, instead of the galvanized, but the electrical is flimsy as hell.
Yeah. No, the electrical's horrible. The structural aspects of it are horrible. The plumbing is the only thing that might be better is less likely to have PVC and less likely to have galvanized steel. But I mean, still, there's no guarantee. If you don't know that you have copper pipes, then you need to make sure you have copper pipes. And even if you have copper pipes, you need to understand that copper doesn't expand. So if you're anywhere above the Mason-Dixon line, then you better understand that you need to drip water when it gets cold.
Yeah.
Or else your pipes are exploding.
Yes.
And a lot of first time homeowners aren't aware of this and they have pipes burst because they don't understand that water freezes in those pipes
Yeah.
because it'll just sit in there and freeze over time.
That's it. I feel like everyone should have a small knowledge of the inner workings of a house.
Agreed.
What does the heater do? Why have a carbon monoxide alarm? You know,
Where's your water shut-off valve?
where's the water shut off?
Yeah. It's like, oh, my house is flooding and there's nothing I can do about it because the water just keeps pouring in. If you know where your water shut-off valve is, your house isn't going to keep flooding and you might actually
Yeah.
be able to maintain the house.
Mhm.
But if you don't know where it is, you might be waiting hours for a professional to get out there where all of your stuff is getting damaged and irreparably damaged at that.
Oh, yes, because warped floors is a loss.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you have to completely replace them. There's nothing you can do about it. And mold, mildew, it's really hard to dry carpets, especially thicker carpets, so that they actually feel nice. You've got to basically get like industrial strength fans in there to be able to dry them out properly.
And you have to know how to clean up mold and mildew. You have to know not to spray bleach at it because then you're throwing the spores up in the air. You wipe it down first before you treat it. And then before you cover up that wall, you have to make sure you have to test the wood to make sure it dries out correctly.
Exactly. Very few people actually have moisture meters for wood, too. I mean, if you're not a professional construction worker, whether that's cabinetry or furniture or home building, like you're not going to have a moisture meter.
Yeah. We have one just because we've done quite a few repairs on our own.
Sure.
And we had water heaters leak and
Mhm.
we had to take the whole wall out, treat the wood. There's a lot of stuff that you need to do for the safety of your family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't just let that stuff grow in the walls.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, shoot.
But yeah, so with the New York Times coming out with that article saying that there was a housing shortage and that's why everything's so expensive, I'm just like, wow, you guys are just straight in the pocket of the billionaire class.
Yeah.
No question about it now. Whoever wrote that article and every single person who approved it, they want to justify these insane over the top housing expenses when there is no justification for it aside from greed. There is not a shortage of houses. There's an abundance of houses. I just looked on Zillow. There are 90,000 houses that you can buy on Zillow right now. And that doesn't include stuff that's accessible only to real estate agents. So bare minimum, we're talking probably around the range of 500,000 houses that are not occupied right now.
Yeah. When you don't occupy a house, that in itself brings down your local comp.
Mm-hmm.
You want people in those houses.
Well, and I mean, just like where I am in Gainesville right now, like just driving into downtown Gainesville, I pass 7 different properties that are abandoned. Like
Yeah.
there are boards in the windows, there are vines all over the houses, just tearing them apart from the inside. And I'm like, we've got homeless people on the streets.
Yep.
Why is there any justification for those people suffering when the houses are right there, unoccupied, unused, unwanted?
Yeah.
And the only reason that they are owned by someone is for the long-term financial gain of real estate going up over time.
Yeah.
But literally, they are stealing the ability of someone to have a home because they want to make money.
Yeah.
And individuals, I don't even think are the biggest problem. I think corporations are the biggest problem. I think these hedge funds and the property management companies, for all these people that buy a bunch of homes and then just send it off to a property management company to manage. They are just as much a part of the problem as the corporations, because they're facilitating a corporation. Profiting off of these people need to have a home.
Yeah.
Healthcare and shelter and food are kind of crucial aspects to existing. If you don't have
Yeah.
those three things, then you don't have anything. You are gone.
Yeah.
So it's insane that all three of those have been so privatized and so corporatized. There's so much profit in price gouging that, like, people just keep doing it because they're like, hey, if I buy a house for 300,000 and I sell it for 600,000 2 years later, I'm making a whole lot of money. Yes, you are. But also, look at the cost of houses everywhere else. You're not actually making that much money in relation to all the other houses, because all the other houses are going up by that much as well. And those are not extreme numbers either. There is literally a house that I saw just the other day that was sold for 170,000 back in 2002, and it is currently valued at 1.9 million because it's close to the beach. And that's
Yeah.
the only thing I can figure out as justification for that estimate.
And that's it. It's close to the beach, and someone's going to turn it into a bed and breakfast or an Airbnb.
Not even big enough for a bed and breakfast, but yeah, an Airbnb for sure. And that's the thing, like, you get it for 1.9 million. Well, actually, you can't set it up as an Airbnb, which is one of the few good things that Myrtle Beach did, is that they locked down the ability of people to use their homes as Airbnbs.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, if you do short-term rentals, which is a rental for anything less than, I think, 3 months at a time, or maybe even 6 months at a time, then you are taxed significantly differently, where it is considered a business that you own rather than a property that you own.
Our property that we rent out, everything about it is different because it's not a primary residence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the interest rate is higher, the tax is higher,
Mm-hmm.
the property tax is higher.
Yeah. Yeah. And for Myrtle Beach in particular, it skyrockets just for their local taxes. Because, I mean, local taxes for property taxes are almost nothing in Myrtle Beach in general, but for those rental properties, it's huge.
Yeah.
So it basically disincentivized everybody from setting up Airbnbs in Myrtle Beach.
Okay. Okay. That's good.
I was going to say, it's great. You would think it would keep the prices down, but prices are going up across the country so much that it doesn't really help much. Like, it helps just enough to make Myrtle Beach not get more hit by inflation than everywhere else.